Good afternoon, everybody. We're excited to come play at home in front of hopefully a sold-out crowd. I've been told that it's going to be close, and play Kent State. Coach Burns has done a nice job there with his team. They play extremely hard. They do have some offensive weapons. I like their quarterback. He had transferred in from Purdue. I like their running back. I think they've got a really good kickoff returner, and their line is full of transfers. Not full, but they have 6 transfers on offense. I believe they lost their entire starting group last year. On defense, they're aggressive defense. They moved more than what we saw last week. Still out of a too-high shell. I like number 5, a D tackle. Last name West. I like their 2 linebackers, very physical guys, and they got a corner returning named Miller that's a good player. So we're excited to get home. We have a high respect for Kent State and their program, but we're excited to do the hog walk in front of our fans, run through the A, and get home.
Yeah, Coach, just looking back at the game, I don't think you had any procedure penalty. You had 7 for 86, but not like 5 men in the backfield or false starts or anything like that. With all the changes that you made with the offensive line and stuff and the new faces, that's got to be pleasing to you, right?
Well, I thought it was really good, Trey, to be perfectly honest with you, and to be, again, honest, we sent several plays in, just wanted some clarification on why it was called. Obviously, there was a few of them that we knew why, but we haven't got that returned back yet. But of those 7, we sent a few in to get a little more clarification of what the penalties were. So I felt, hitting somebody out of bounds, we can't do. But I felt, pretty good about how we played, how hard we played, and you've seen it. Now it might be different because we didn't play on the road in front of a hostile crowd. That may be different as well. But I thought we played a pretty clean game. Didn't have the turnovers and things of that nature, and got a bunch. So I thought we played a pretty clean game. And to be honest with you, I thought our special teams, this is the best we've looked after a first game, and it helps because you have better players, and that way you have better athletes on the field, and it helps when you have a returner, and that we really believe in. Not to say we didn't before, but I think 16 has a chance to be pretty good back there.
Just looking at the secondary, it was pretty even snaps between Walcott, Jaden Johnson, Snacks Johnson, Hudson Clark. Is Hudson kind of just like the backup to all 3 of those spots?
No, not necessarily. I think he just didn't get the start per se. But yeah, to answer party, yes, he can play multiple positions. Yes, I do think he has a great opportunity to start this week. But I think the guy who really had came along was Jaden Johnson, and so he made it difficult. And then it put between Hud and Al, and I think Hud had a good game. Obviously had a pick and things of that nature, and so he's a starter in our book whether he runs out there or not. But yes, and Snacks is kind of the same way because Snacks can play a couple spots too out there, but Hud's got his value, as much value as anybody on defense, just because he's A, a good player, and B, because he can play so many spots.
Coach, it seemed like Bo Limmer had a couple snaps that kind of got away from him. I mean, do you really know what happened there? Is that anything to worry about?
Are you worried about? Do you seem to be worried about it, or no? I'm not.
Okay. And then as far as Tykees Crawford, I know Brady Latham wasn't there, but what did you think of his performance?
I wish we would have knocked him off the ball more. We had opportunities in some double teams, and I felt like our shoulder angle was off. To be specific with you, when the linebacker and the combinations behind you, you got to stay vertical as you can, and you got to work that more. That's one of the things we've got to clean up. if they're in front of you, it's easy because your shoulders are going to be aligned with him. But if they're behind him, your shoulders will never be aligned, but they can be vertical, just waiting on him to see what he's doing. And I think we were quick at times coming off with the guard and quick at times coming off with the center. I think we have to play better in there. But I thought Tykeist, for his first, well, he started in the Liberty Bowl, but didn't play much. I thought he did a nice job. I thought Braun did a nice job. It'll be nice to get Brady back. I think we'll have him, hopefully we'll have him back. He's going to practice today, so hopefully everything goes well and he'll be able to come back. But going back on the center exchange, that's always concerning when it's over the head and things of that nature. There was obviously it was very hot, so we lost the grip on the ball. I went over to KJ at some point and said, hey, help him with your towel, help him and things of that nature. And his hand got beat up a little bit in the game as well. But I don't think that'll be a problem. I don't feel like it hadn't been in practice.
Kenny Burns was funny. He said, Sam Pittman won't remember me, but maybe you do. He was a running back at Springfield, Illinois, and you were at Northern Illinois, and y'all were recruiting him.
He's
that ring?
A really good player. No. You know what? Yes. I know who he is now. I don't know. That's several years ago, maybe 20 plus, maybe. But he's doing a heck of a job over there for him. He did a heck of a job where he came from, too. But I wish I did remember more. But nobody remembers me playing. I'm sure he was a lot better than I was.
He wound up in Indiana. So.
Yeah.
So you were in Northern Illinois and beat an SEC school, so you kind of know the motivation that MAC teams, when they get the opportunity, what are your thoughts maybe about, their motivations and coming in here?
Well, I think, each year, and I was watching College Game Day there for a minute, and, they were talking about it's going to happen. MAC school's going to beat a Power 5, and then hopefully that's already happened. I think Northern Illinois won it, was it Boston College possibly, I think, this last weekend. But, that MAC, that year we beat Alabama, we beat Maryland, we beat Iowa State, all in that same year. We went 10-2 and didn't get a bowl invite. That's how things have changed, so far. But here's what I'll know about them. They'll be tough. They'll play hard. They did. They played hard against UCF. UCF has a good football team and had some really good talent out there, speed. But they'll play hard, and they'll come in here believing they can win. That's how it was when I was at Western Michigan and how it was when I was at Northern Illinois. And it's just a wonderful opportunity for them. Again, this week's more about us, and between week 1 and 2, we ought to get much better. I told the coaches today, I said, let's be great at, if it wasn't great, let's be great at fixing it. And let's don't say, well, if we just keep practicing the same way or we keep doing the same individual drills or whatever, it's going to get better, because it's not. You have to emphasize it, sort of like we did the short yardage and all that. They'll be ready to play. I'm excited to play them. And MAC is a great league, great coaches league. And as fun a time as I've had, besides being head coach at Arkansas, was when I was coaching in the MAC.
Coach, were you a little surprised the chemistry that KJ had with the receivers? Because really Isaiah and Jaden didn't play much last year, and the rest of them, even the tight ends, are new basically. Were you surprised at how well they clicked Saturday?
Well, I think over the rules have changed a little bit where you can throw a little bit more in the summers and then they can on their own and all that kind of stuff. But I felt the trust. I'll be perfectly honest with you, Otis. Them guys catch everything. And so, what do we have? The first 6 passes or something with 6 different receivers or something like that. Was it 7? And they've earned his trust. And but we're catching the ball really well, contested balls really well. And I know Andrew and Tesla, especially. We need to get Broden going. Need to get him going. He only caught one pass. Man, how valuable is he as a gunner on the punt team and all those type things. But he came here to catch balls. We got to get him going a little bit more too.
Is Vito in planning on playing next year?
Vito?
Yeah.
Yeah, man, it's good to have him back. He has to he has to set out a year because of double transfer. But yeah.
Will he have left, Coach, next year? Do you know?
Well, I think if you're looking at, I think he could have 2. He could possibly have. I wonder this year. I think it makes him lose his COVID year, so I think he'll have 2.
Thank you,
Coach. Again on the secondary, Jaheim Singletary, I think, played the most snaps for you guys back then. Just how much of a luxury has it been for a transfer, a redshirt freshman to come in and right away be able to have a positive impact for you guys back there?
Well, we thought him coming in, he's trying for a starting job. It's big, obviously. You have to hit. Man, you imagine going in the portal and missing on a bunch of guys, and then you've got guys that come in here going, well, I'm going to play, and I don't, and then, you might have some locker room issues and stuff like that. So there's a lot of reasons to hit in the portal. One of them is so they can go out and start for you and play football. But I was really pleased with him. We have to understand he didn't play a whole lot of ball over at Georgia, so he played, but not a lot of ball. So that was really his first opportunity to play collegiate football, and obviously we trust him because we left him in there a little bit longer, and we knew we wanted to look at him a little bit longer, and not having Stewart, being suspended from the game. We might have gotten him out a little bit more. We just weren't comfortable with more at the time than a 3 or possibly late 4-man rotation.
And just, you touched on the offensive line. Did you see anything from the running backs that you want to specifically clean up with the running game headed into this week?
I don't know if it's I felt like we was trying to make big runs, the entire day. Sometimes you go in a stadium like that, and especially, Jaden, the second play of the game, he goes, 65, 67, something like that. And then you go, well, man, he just had a big play. And a lot of times you'll run trying to make a big play when all your big plays come off of just doing what you do, and it opens every now and then. And so I felt like we were pressing a little bit, trying to make some big plays. They basically, I think, their game plan was we're going to make KJ beat us with his throwing the football. I'm pretty sure they probably knew our game plan wouldn't be to run KJ. You know what I mean? And so they were going to stop Rocket and the running backs and things of that nature. And to be honest with you, a lot of plays were made by their safeties. Again, we addressed about the double teams and things of that nature. I mean, we had a couple of pin and pulls if we just, we wasted 2 on 1. If we just clear it and hit first force with the guard coming out and let Bo clean up the front side backer, I mean, we're going to have some explosive runs, and we just didn't. I think our efficiency, was 54%, which is half. Goal line, get a first down, 4 yards or more, which if you get around 60, you're doing pretty good. So we were under that. But we just had no explosive plays, But I did think, pass protection, they got in his face twice. One, he flipped the protection, and it was a hot protection. He was hot on the guy and just, didn't see him. And the other one was a play action protection where the back got out a little too fast and they green dogged in and got in his face. But I thought the line did as good a job as we could of protecting it. We just got to strain a little bit more in the run game and open up holes a little bit better, and I think we will. We ended up having, we've been injured in camp with Devin and obviously Brady. So to go in there with 2 guys, and then, of course, Braun moving at left guard, I thought we played okay. I think we can play a lot better, and I think we will.
Luke Hosh had a catch. I think it was the first play from scrimmage, and then then didn't have much the rest of the day. But what did you think of his performance to start, and then the tight ends group?
Well, we didn't catch a lot of balls at tight end. He was the only one that caught passes. It was great to see him catch the first one, but we were going into the game. He's a weapon. Gum's a weapon. France a weapon. Washington, on and on. But the throws, I mean, I'm not saying we were wide open, but we were open enough, across the middle. We knew that they were a too high shell team and attacking the middle of the field, and we threw the ball a little more vertical than even what we thought we might, And so I think they're going to be fine. Luke catches a ton of balls at practice. I think he'll have opportunity to get a whole bunch of them, but I felt like he did well. He cramped up later in the game. Later in the game, didn't play quite as well towards when he got hot. But we were conscious about playing him too many reps, and we may have played him a little bit more than we should have.
Sam, going back to your secondary, Nudi's got 5 picks for you since he's been here. He's got 2 in the openers. How do you think he's able to get off to these quick starts in seasons, and where do you think he's developed most since he's been here?
I don't know. In his tackling, he's a willing tackler now. He hadn't always been that way. To his credit, the weight room's helped him with that as well. But he really baited that throw the other day. It was really cool. He baited the throw and then got it, and then made a nice return on it. Guys blocked for him. But Nudi's he's very conscious about route progression for the offense, and he's very rarely out of position. Sometimes they'll run a deep route on him, and they'll like any corner, they may get behind him for a second or whatever, but when he's in zone coverage and things like that, he's very savvy, and I think that's why. So is Hudson Clark. I think Hudson Clark's pick was a pretty savvy deal, So I don't know how. I'm going to tell him it's the first game out here next week too.
And Sam, we didn't get to ask you about Max Fletcher the other day. He had a real good, I think it was just under 49 yards, kicked a nice one out of the back of the end zone when he was backed up. What'd you think of his performance?
49-yard average, 48.6 or whatever. I think our special teams performed as good as we have in the first game. But I was real pleased with him, and I was pleased with how high he kicked the ball. I think we had a 50-something yarder and no return, a fair catch on it with Broden down there, or Broden made the tackle, one or the other. He was always down there, but I was really happy with Fletcher because he kicked the ball fairly consistent, and he's got that kind of leg. Let me read this right quick. After all the spring and August emphasis correcting last year's short yardage situation flaws, how important was it for this? You could write anything down here. I feel like the anchor man. I'm getting ready to read something. I'm Ron Burgundy, but there's nothing on here, right? I'm good. It says short yardage situation flaws, how important was it for this team closing last Saturday's first half running a 4th and 1 touchdown? Well, honestly, right before I came here, I was talking to Dan about, we went for it on 4th down. What was it, 4th and 1 on about the 37 or something, somewhere around in there. And then, I told him, I said, I'd just sneak it, try a sneak. And he said, they jumped, they were in bear. We bobbled the snap just a little bit. And then it was 4th down, so I just waited on the clock to go down to 3, and it was a really good feeling to score. I mean, just a really good feeling to have 2 4th downs and get it. Guys, if we don't catch, we've all been there. If we don't catch contested passes, if we don't make those 2 we don't make those 2 4th and 1s, we still probably win the game, but you're going, man, because everybody tries to find negative in what could be pretty positive situation, but I was really pleased with that. We made them both, and our work at least to that point. We're not going to make them all, I get it, but we did on Saturday, and that felt good, and I think it builds confidence in the team. And it builds confidence in the team and us because what we're doing, it's like fast starts. We changed. It's a physical part of the first part of practice. So we can start fast, and then we go out and get a 3 and out. We score in 2 plays. It just, at least it gives you a little more, the team believes in, okay, this is why we're doing it. Let's go do it. And they do it without hesitation.
And you mentioned Keon Stewart a minute ago. What is he back this week, or what's his status
he's back.
with the
team? He's got some things. We want him to. He's got 5 events that he needs to go to, community service wise and things of that nature. Obviously, he wasn't at the game. We suspended him for Saturday's game, but he's back. He's back now, and he's got a few things to complete, but. He's back on the team.
That play at the end of the first half, Dominique Johnson was the lead blocker there for Rocket. Curious what you thought of that.
I thought it was great. I mean, he knocked the heck out of the kid. And to be honest with you, we had not seen that look. And we continued to block out, and the guy who went down became Dominique's guy. And he could have freaked out because he was about 2 yards off the ball the way we had practiced it. And then he came down and got on the ball. And Dominique never hesitated. He knew who he had, but the guy was on the line of scrimmage. We talked about we probably wouldn't block it like that if that was the case. But we did have a hat for a hat, and Dominique made a heck of a block.
And then you mentioned Brady going to get back at practice today. Anybody else that maybe you're expecting to not be at practice today?
Not right off the top. Well, we've got a whole list of guys, that we're still trying to figure out, but not off the top of my head from the game.
Sam, if you've mentioned this on Brady, I've missed it. What's the nature of his injury that he's dealing with?
Oh, he just I don't want to talk about it, but I think everybody can figure it out, So we're still waiting. We'll keep waiting to see if he gets cleared. So I think everybody figured it out.
Understand. When you come off a week where you win by as much as you won, and you're playing an opponent who lost by as much as they lost by last week, is it an emphasis to make sure your team is locked in this week, not overlooking things?
Yeah, I think that's a good question, but I think, to be honest with you, and I know it's maybe coach speak or whatever, but right now we're just worried about us. We're trying to put the best product we got out there, and we're trying to play hard. We're trying to play smart, trying to play tough, because if you just evaluate yourself from the scoreboard, you're going to disappoint yourself. I mean, you're just going to be disappointed because who's to say what you're supposed to win by? You know what I mean? If you win 38-0, are you happy? Not if we don't play well. You know what I mean? So I think right now, and I will continue to do it, I think right now it's more about how do we play, what are we doing, how are we getting better, how are we playing smarter, how are we chasing the ball better, how are we straining more. And if we do that, we've got enough talent. We could have a pretty good team, but we didn't flash as much on the D line. We've got to do that. They played fine, but they didn't play as good as what our expectation for them or their expectations for themselves, and we got to get all that fixed, and I think we will.
We keep talking about Jaden Johnson, but great pick and forced fumble, all that's good. But the Nudie interception, I know you had to go back and see when he smacked that 330-pound offensive lineman.
Yeah, one of them smacked each other. Something happened, but the big guy didn't get up for a minute.
I don't know if he would have done that last year.
And there's a lot to be said for what your mind will allow you to think and believe and how it affects your life and your play and your relationship at home and all kinds of stuff. And he's in a really good space, and he did it. I didn't do it. Ben Souders didn't do it. He did it. He just decided, hey, let me look in the mirror and see what I can fix, and he did. But I agree with you. You talk about open field tackling. I mean, Well, I mean, he caused a fumble, you know, and then had an open field tackle. It was just him and a lot of space. Now I think Torian Carter, somebody was coming from inside out, but just a lot of positive things, and I think he'll tell you he can get better. But yeah, I'm really proud of him. And I talked about Jaden and both Jadens, and they both, and I wish I could say, boy, I'm a good coach and this, that, and the other, and it had nothing to do with me. They decided that they wanted to be as good as they can and knock out all the noise and let me just go be the best I can, and they're doing it.
How many times do you think Travis brought more than 4 defenders on defense?
I don't know. I'd have to go back and look at that. Not many.
I think maybe twice.
Yeah, not many. I think going into the game, our plan was we was going to try to see if those 4 guys could get there, and then here's what happened. The guy's getting the ball out of his hands so fast that it wouldn't have mattered if you brought 11, you weren't going to get there, And so at that point, we'd had to talk about, hey, let's switch up the coverages in the back end, but for us to have a blitz fest, he ain't going to get there anyway. So not many.
Thanks, Coach.
All right, guys. Thank you.
Hey, do you expect it to be a big turnover for us team this year?
Say again.
5-0 on turnovers. You expect to get a lot of turnovers?
Well, I hope so. That helps, don't it? God dang.